Okay.
So just write this down.
What makes Andela epic? The people.
You're given the opportunity to grow into whatever your potential really is.
It invites innovation, talent, and diversity.
Andela was born of a simple premise. Brilliance is evenly distributed, but opportunity isn't. Our mission is to connect talented individuals to roles that can be done anywhere you want to be.
Andela supports work-life balance by providing opportunity to work absolutely remote, and it gives us an opportunity to have a family life, have a personal life, and still be extraordinary in impacting the lives of our talent and our clients.
I really got hooked on Andela when I heard about the mission, connecting brilliance to opportunity, regardless of race, gender, or geography. That got me hooked.
I have joined Andela as I come from Brazil, and I have been impacted directly by being connected to opportunity that wouldn't exist otherwise in my local country.
What do I love most about my team and department? The people.
Everyone just works together so well. They really respect one another's opinions, and it truly feels kind of like a family. It feels like home.
We act as one group, one team, and we all help each other succeed.
Why should I join Andela? It's a great question. I would turn it around and say, why wouldn't you join Andela? We have brilliant people that you get to work with every day. We have a mission that is at the core of every single person who works here. And every day you learn something new and you have a new challenge. And at the end of the day, you're making the world a better place. One moment, one meeting, one laugh at a time.
So what made me join Andela? A legal statement in my job description. The legal statement was all about why we want you here. And it was all about all the traits and characteristics that make up humans. And when I read that equal opportunity legal statement, I actually got a tear in my eye. And it ended with, Andela is home for all. Come as you are. And I knew that I was home at Andela.
How would you describe Andela in one word? Diverse.
Collaboration. We solve solutions together.
Flexibility. I would say inventive.
Brilliance.
Opportunity.
Epic.
The future of work.
Innovative. Impactful.
Hope. Hope that when I look back on my life, I can see that I have done something meaningful with it.
You're not discriminated on your age or race or color or tribe, or whether you're male or female. You just come there and you're a superstar doing your thing and making an impact globally. That's Andela.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Rosario. I am a talent marketing coordinator at Andela. Before starting, please make sure to adjust your audio settings, as we are saying in the chat. And if you are on mobile and have the possibility of switching to a laptop, please do so for a better experience. And remember, this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Women Live Women page during the week. So you will find everything there. Okay, for those of you who are new to Andela and are getting familiarized with us, Andela could be presented as a talent marketplace, a talent network that helps technologists find good jobs at top-class companies. But we like to say that we are a lot more than that. So at Andela, we know and recognize there is a lot of brilliant people out there, and we work to connect that brilliant people with amazing opportunities. We provide support and community, and we want to help you grow your career. Andela gives you access to lots of benefits, including exclusive long-term opportunities, a global talent community where you will find mentorship, ideas, opportunities to speak up, flexibility, educational advancement opportunities. So why are we here today? So at Andela, we are also committed to gender equality and empowering women to take center stage. So in a male-dominated industry like technology, we understand how difficult it can be for women to gain the recognition and success they deserve. So we have created this program, Women Live Women, webinar series to offer female and non-female, because this is open to everybody, as we just said in the chat as well. We want to offer them a chance to learn from the best. So without further details about Andela, I would like to introduce our speaker of today. So Wendy Francois is a native from Miami with Haitian roots and graduate of Columbia. She's commercial counsel with prior legal experience in corporate real estate law. At Andela, Wendy works on client and vendor contracts as well as terms of Andela products and services. She's a lover of arts and culture and is a proud board member of a community development board that works to provide wealth building opportunities for underserved communities through real estate development and investment. So thank you very much, Wendy, for being here. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And I see a lot of people from all over the world. So, well, no further introduction. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Thank you, Rosario. I'm joining from sunny Miami, and I'm excited to be a part of this series. When I started my legal career, I actually was working in a department that didn't have any women. And now I'm part of the Andela legal team, which is made up of a group of dynamic women from all backgrounds and professional experiences, which makes us a very strong team. And so I'm very happy to be here today to present this on behalf of this series that seeks to help aid women in becoming leaders in a male-dominated field, similar to the law field, which is where I am coming from and where I have my professional experience. So today we're going to talk about teamwork and the power of team. And so this is the quick agenda of what we will be going over in my presentation. And then, so we'll talk about the power of team. We'll talk about dysfunctional teams, the why, the signs, and the cure. We'll talk about how you can build your team, how you can manage through conflict, and then we'll have a Q&A. And so just before we get started, if you haven't already put in the chat, let us know where you're coming from, where you're participating from, and anything that you would like us to know about your career background. I see we have people from Nigeria, Uganda, Argentina, Ethiopia, South Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Mali. Thank you to all of you for taking the time to be with us today. So we will start with the power of team. What is teamwork? Let's watch a clip just to get us started and get the conversation going. But if you can put in the chat, what do you think a team is? Thank you for all of your great answers about what makes up a team. So why do we talk about team, especially in the business context? Well, it's for the same reason as we talk about it in the sports context, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others, right? And so there is just so much that you can accomplish with a team that you cannot accomplish by yourself. And so, as you all have said in the chat, a team is a group of people working towards a common goal, right? And achieving that team is a building process, right? And the process of enabling each individual to reach their goal, and then working together, you're able to reach the team's goal. So why is teamwork important? Well, teamwork has been proven to demonstrate so many increases in the work environment, right? There are increases in performance. Teamwork can lead to innovative ideas and strong individual performance as well as group performance. there's an increase in productivity. You're able to put all of your skills to good use and your talents don't get wasted. Teamwork helps build a sense of pride, which reduces stress and leads to greater commitment and employee retention. With a team, you can ensure that you're getting the right skills and resources, right? Because as we saw from that video clip of that football team that we just watched, everyone has a part to play. So being on a team helps you better develop the skills that you have that allow you to contribute something specific and essential to the goals of the overall group, right? And ultimately, all of this leads to more revenues and savings for your company and your organization because of the efficiency and the results that are gained. So think of what you're looking to accomplish in your career or on an assignment or in a project. Think of your goals, and you will always be able to do more when you are with a team, right? You will have someone that you can bounce ideas off of, which will help you develop better ideas. You'll have someone who can train you, mentor you, teach you, which can lead to more productivity and more efficiency. And so it's all about knowing the right form of teamwork and how much teamwork is needed at each stage of a project that will help you get work done more efficiently and effectively, all while meeting your personal and group goals. So in talking about what makes a team and why a team is important, we also have to talk about dysfunctional teams so that we can identify how to put together great teams, right? So dysfunctional teams can cripple an entire organization. And it can really lead to not only dissatisfaction, but it can also lead to unmet goals, as well as a workplace that is not conducive to helping people grow in their skills and in their career. So put in the chat, what do you think makes a team dysfunctional? Put in some characteristics that you think are evident in dysfunctional teams. What are some of your ideas? A lack of respect between members, poor communication, big egos, selfishness. Yes, those are all great examples of what makes a team dysfunctional. So we're going to talk a little bit about what exactly makes a team dysfunctional. And all of this will help us as we think about how to build great teams, right? So when you look at some of the top things, this is a high level overview and summary of what some of those things are, right? So an absence of trust. When there's an absence of trust, this leads to artificial harmony, right? These are situations where people are afraid to speak honestly about their concerns, and no one is vulnerable enough to admit when things aren't going smoothly without, fear of getting in trouble, right? And the absence of trust can come from this lack of vulnerability where no one is really sharing their pain points or their struggles. No one's asking questions. People just aren't comfortable being truthful, right? And sometimes you see this because the leader of the group or of the team doesn't model that humility or that behavior, and they refuse to admit what they don't know, especially when everyone else might know that they're wrong, right? And so absence of trust is a huge factor in a dysfunctional team. Another one is fear of conflict, right? When you have trust, then you're able to have healthy conflict. And healthy conflict is what leads to innovation, change, and growth, right? So you can assume that everyone has, when there isn't a fear of conflict or a fear of disagreeing, then everyone can assume that you have good intentions and that you're all working together toward the same goals. Because a cohesive team, a team that is working well, it can disagree and still commit to have a collective resolution and path forward, right? So, but when there's a fear of conflict, this leads to top-down decision making because people are afraid to speak up or disagree. And so you end up in a situation where only the bosses or the managers are speaking first and speaking loudest and making all of the decisions. And this suppresses the other team members and prevents healthy conflict, which leads to innovation. Another example, another characteristic of a dysfunctional team is a lack of commitment. So when there is a lack of a commitment, team members can't really agree or disagree on how to move forward and or how to commit to the next steps, right? You don't trust anyone and you're not raising any of your issues or concerns. And so you just kind of check out, right? And you disengage and you don't really ever fully commit to the project or the assignment or the goal. And this ultimately can lead to an avoidance of accountability, right? No one knows who's responsible. No one knows who's accountable for a task or a project. And people also then might end up just working in silos and different cliques and in smaller groups rather than committing to the entire team as a whole. And then there isn't visibility into what people are working on or who's responsible for what. And then you also, in those cases, when people are in silos, you have instances where people may be making decisions without informing other parts of the group, right? And this can lead to double work or duplicate work or maybe missed work or both, ultimately all of which will cause frustration and resentment on the team, right? And then another characteristic is an inattention to results. So if you don't have that commitment and you have an avoidance of accountability, then you also end up with situations where no one's really paying attention to the outcome and the results, right? You can't consistently achieve positive results, and the team is not able to measure, compare, or evaluate their goals. And so, and without being able to do that, it's hard to achieve anything together. And it's also hard to know what exactly you have achieved already, right? So an effective team has to be able to constantly measure, compare, and reevaluate the ways that your results are helping you meet your goals. We're going to now watch a clip of a conflict, and I want to get some answers from you of what elements of a dysfunctional team do you see in this clip?
Cindy, did you ever get a chance to finish the report?
What report are you talking about? Because I know there was a few reports. So what report can you tell me?
The one that's due tomorrow.
You know what? I didn't. It's been really hard for me. I have been in the field a lot, doing a lot of outreach.
I mean, I understand that, but this deadline is tomorrow.
I haven't even had no time to do it inside. I'm barely touching base here.
It's been on your desk for 2 weeks.
Wait, hold on. Who made you in charge?
The deadline is due tomorrow.
You're my equal.
I mean, I understand that, but we have a deadline, and I've been.
But who made you in charge?
But I have to keep us on task and stay and focus on deadlines.
Well, then
Deadlines
why
can't
don't
be
you do
pushed
some of
back.
the outreach? I'm dealing with this guy, one of our patients that just had a stroke, doesn't speak English and doesn't even speak, and is having problems. And I've been trying to get him housed. And I've been working with him every day. You could have told me way before.
I have told you. I've sent you countless emails, and it's sitting. You have a draft sitting on your
you shouldn't even
desk.
told me. You shouldn't even told me. Dr. Allen should have told me and sent me an email. You're not my boss.
Cindy, did you ever get a chance to finish the report?
What report are you?
Okay, so what are some elements of a dysfunctional team that you saw in that clip? In that clip that we just watched, it's a clip of two coworkers who are at work and addressing the fact that one of the coworkers did not complete a specific task. And so the coworker is asking, so one coworker is asking the other coworker, you know, what happened basically. And a back and forth ensues between them about who's responsible for what, who should be delegating, and who should be checking up on this task that wasn't accomplished. So yes, I'm seeing some of your comments. So you see a lack of accountability, avoidance of accountability, lack of respect, inattention to results. All of those were evident in that clip and in that conversation between those two coworkers. So when you have a dysfunctional team and you have these elements present that make a dysfunctional team, how can you go about fixing and addressing those issues so that you can make the team better and so that you can all work towards your goals, right? So addressing the dysfunction isn't just a matter of maintaining morale and productivity. It's a necessary element if you want to achieve your goals, but also for employee retention, right? People will not stay and work in places where the dysfunction just continues to grow and grow. And people also will not be happy or committed to the work that they're doing when there is dysfunction on the team. So just as in other parts of your life, you have to be willing to self-examine and open yourself up to feedback, especially if you're the leader of a team, right? You have to be able to ask the tough questions to identify the root causes. Where does the lack of trust stem from? Is the issue primarily with leadership? Is there a lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities? In addition to that, are the team dynamics fraught with bias and favoritism? And then also you have to examine whether the conflict is even more personal in nature, because if it is, you may need to get human resources involved in helping to fix the dysfunction that's on the team. Okay, so we've now discussed why teams are important. We know the signs of a dysfunctional team. We've talked a little bit about how we can fix them, but now we will also talk about how do you go about building a team. So having this information that we have about why the teams are important, how much they can cause increases in your skills and your productivity, and then what dysfunctional characteristics we want to avoid, we can talk about building a team that is successful. So we are going to watch a clip, and this clip comes from a speech that was given in 1961 by United States President John F. Kennedy, and he called for the United States to send astronauts to the moon and return them safely to Earth before the end of the decade. Please watch this clip, and then afterwards, tell me what are some of the things that JFK identified that would enable a team to be great. Okay, so put in the chat some of your comments on what you think was identified by JFK in terms of characteristics that would make a team great. So in seeing some of your comments, encouraging them to do something that's difficult, trust in the team to accomplish a task. Yes, commitment, examining strengths and weaknesses, believing in the team, managing your resources. Yes, these are all great comments that you have dropped in the chat. And yes, you are correct. All of this is evident in the remarks that JFK presented of what would make a team great, right? So a group is able to accomplish things that that individuals could not accomplish on their own, right? And so what are the characteristics that enable that? How do we get to that point where we're able to harness the individual talents and skills in order to make a group that's even stronger and better than each individual person's talent, right? So here are some of the 12 characteristics of an effective team. So a shared vision, having a clear purpose and clear roles, knowing what you're working on and why is very important, right? And that's something that we see outlined in that video clip that we just watched of JFK's speech, right? It's very clear what you're trying to accomplish and what the purpose is and what the roles will be. Open communication, where there is clear and consistent active listening, as well as sharing of information and transparency is also very important. You have to be able to obtain insights into how your teammates prefer to receive information and feedback. And all of this helps to make sure that communication is open. But then there's also part of communication is being able to question openly, as we mentioned before, have healthy conflict so that you can be able to generate new ideas. Collaboration and participation are also very important because everyone wants to feel that their input is valuable. And you also want to make sure that you're incorporating all of the best ideas and input to make the team better. As we also, again, back to the idea of healthy conflict, having civilized disagreement is very important, and it shows that the team is comfortable and that they're not avoiding or smoothing over or suppressing conflict, right? Teammates are vulnerable enough, when teammates are vulnerable enough to admit when things aren't going smoothly, it helps to find ways to improve, right? And we saw that in the clip of JFK, where he's able to acknowledge what the weaknesses are, acknowledge what the mistakes are, and from there be able to move forward. Negotiation and resolution also can happen in a friendly and respectful way for the benefit of the whole when there's civilized disagreement. Consensus decisions are when you have a team that for important decisions, they're able to reach a substantial agreement through open discussion of everyone's ideas without always needing formal voting. Shared leadership, as we discussed earlier, it's not good when it's just the bosses or the managers who are the only ones speaking first and loudest and making all the decisions, right? While the team may have a formal leader, leadership functions should be able to shift from time to time depending on the circumstances, the projects, and the needs of the group and the skills of the members. And so you know that you have an effective team when the formal leader can model the appropriate behaviors that help establish positive practices and leadership practices throughout the team. So everyone gets an opportunity to lead a project or lead an assignment or, mentor and help make decisions. It's not just a top-down approach. External relations are important to an effective team because it shows that the team spends time developing key outside relationships and mobilizing resources and building the credibility with important players in other parts of their organization or company, right? So you see in that clip from JFK, he's giving a speech, he's making an appeal to Congress and different parts of the government to get everyone on board, right? And so your team has to be able to communicate with other departments, other areas of the business, and mobilize the resources that you need to help your goals. So, and in addition, in that clip of JFK, he's also appealing to the general public, right? And helping them and explaining to them how they can help make the team's goal a reality. So the goals have to be clear and the decisions and the wants of the team have to be clear. And that way you can get external partners to assist you. And another example of an effective team is self-reflection and self-assessment, where you should be able to, an effective team should be able to stop and examine how well it is functioning and what may be interfering with its effectiveness, right? Reflection and self-assessment also includes giving praise and credit where due, giving constructive feedback, and, after a project, being able to say, this was well done, these are the people who led it, and providing that encouragement, but also providing that feedback so that people can grow. And from there, you should be able to iterate and create a plan for the future based on what you have accomplished. And the last note here about a characteristic of an effective team is style diversity. And basically, this is when a team has a variety of team player types and types of people, including members who emphasize attention to a task, goal setting, focus on process, and members who question how the team is functioning as a whole. So let's talk a little bit more about these team player types. So it takes all 4 of these types of people to make a great team. And before we go into more detail about each type, just looking at what we have on the screen right now, which team player type do you think you are? Put in the chat right now which team player type you think you are based on what we have on the screen right now. So we have collaborator, communicator, challenger. Oh, that second one should be contributor. So we have collaborator, contributor, communicator, challenger. Which one do you think you are? Okay, so when we talk about style diversity and team player types, it's basically to ensure that there are different skills and personality types helping to make the team well-rounded. Sometimes these can be embodied in one person, and sometimes the team may be lacking a particular style type, and you may need to get it from an external partner. So let's go through each of them. So a collaborator. Collaborators are focused on the goal. Okay. And the collaborator is a goal-directed member who sees the vision, mission, or goal of the team as important. This person helps the team establish long-term goals with milestones and clarify the team's current objective. Collaborators are also the people that help the team see how the work fits into the bigger organization, which makes it easier to work with external partners. If you are a collaborator, you are flexible and open to new ideas, willing to pitch in and work outside of your defined role, and you're able to share the limelight with other team members. Most people see collaborators as the big picture person but you may need to periodically revisit the mission. The collaborator also has to be sure to give enough attention to the basic team tasks and not overlook individual needs of the other team members. So that's a collaborator. A contributor is someone who is focused on the task, right? The contributor is task oriented and enjoys providing the team with technical information and data. If you're a contributor, you tend to do your homework, you push the team to set high standards, and you help them use the time and resources wisely. Typically, a contributor is kind of like a worker bee who completes all of the work in their role and maybe even some other tasks not related to their work. And this person may provide training to other team members. This person is mostly seen as dependable and sometimes may be bogged down by the details or the data. Communicator. So communicators are focused on the process, and this person is an effective listener of all viewpoints. They facilitate involvement, conflict resolution, consensus building, feedback, and the building of an informal, relaxed climate. This person steps in to resolve process problems, and which include conflicts or maybe even a lack of engagement from other team members. The communicator communicates enthusiasm and a sense of urgency about the work, and this is the person that typically is providing status updates. And this person helps people on the team get to know each other and know how they can contribute overall. This person can give and receive feedback that is descriptive, specific, and helpful without becoming defensive. And then we also have the challenger. So this person is focused on the question, right? This person is the one who questions the goals, the methods, the work, and even if necessary, the ethics of the team, right? As a challenger, you're willing to disagree openly with team leadership or higher authority and encourage the team to take well-conceived and well-planned risks. This person asks why and how and other relevant questions in reporting team progress and stating the problems that the team is facing. Most people appreciate the value of this openness, but then also the challengers sometimes have to be aware of when to back off of an issue so that they're not pushing the team too far. So with this summary of the team player types and styles, you can gain a better understanding of your own team dynamics and also what drives individual behaviors within a group, right? Including your own. So this can help you consider what you can do to have a positive impact on your team's functioning and performance. So given this summary of these types, would any of you change the type that you identify with? Or do you still think that you identify with your original answers? So we have the challenger, the communicator, the collaborator, and the contributor. And some of this takes some self-reflection, right? To really understand what exactly fits your personality, and also what exactly enables you to work best on a team, right? And so that's why we're providing this information, is so that you can be able to assess yourself individually, but then also when you're working on a team, you would be able to assess the different types of people on your team and see where they're coming from and why they have that particular perspective. Okay, so we've talked about what makes a team dysfunctional, how to fix teams, what a good team needs, and the kind of team players that make up a team. But how does a team even come together? So this is kind of just to give you an overview of team development and the stages and the steps of building a team. So these stages are better known as FSNP, which is forming, storming, norming, and performing. You may have heard this before. This is a popular just kind of acronym that's used for how the teams come together. So during these various stages, the team is building all of those effective characteristics that we talked about before and trying to work towards getting to a place where they can accomplish their goals. So during the forming stage, which is step one, the team comes together to address a problem and propose solutions, but there's not yet a clear purpose, and you're still just beginning to establish relationships, right? So there's still a lack of guidance and direction. Then you move to the next stage where, and this is a point where if a team will fall apart, it's most likely to fall apart at this stage, just because there can be conflict at this point, right? Because you're trying to get the roles established, and people start deciding whether they even really want to be on the team, right? So there may be some conflicts that arise, but you're also getting increased clarity and structure and purpose, as well as coaching through the process. The next stage is norming. At this stage, the team starts to turn the corner and members start buying into the process and figure out how to work together despite the differences in the styles and types. So team members actively acknowledge each other's contributions, build community, maintain team focus and mission, and they work to solve the issues. Trust is developed so people are able to ask questions and share their ideas freely. And then the last stage is performing. The team begins to focus on a shared goal and find ways to solve any problems that come up, right? Typically, this means that the structure of the team and the roles are defined, but there's still a lot of flexibility. Members are confident about the outcome, they enjoy communication and high energy, and disagreement is welcomed and handled without emotional conflict. So when you're putting a team together or when you're joining a team, you might notice the team going through these 4 stages as it develops and as you further clarify your purpose and your mission so that you can achieve your goals. Okay, so these are what we've gone over so far: the power of the team, what makes a team dysfunctional and how to fix it, how to build your team, and with, what types of players would be on that team, as well as the stages. But once you have your team all together and everything is running smoothly, there's something that is unavoidable that will come up, right? And that is conflict. No matter what, at some point there will be conflict, even on great teams, right? We talked about how healthy conflict is actually a characteristic of an effective team. And so, how do you manage that conflict when it comes up? Right? You now have a team and you want to ensure that it runs smoothly and that you can maintain harmony. And to do that, it's essential that you understand conflict management. As mentioned in the networking session that was held in the prior session for this series, teamwork is a great way to tell a story about your strengths and how you have helped bring a team together during difficult times. And so it's essential to learn how to manage conflict and then also how to work through the process of managing a conflict, and then ultimately how to talk about it with your team members and possibly in a job interview. So these are the different conflict management styles. Based on what you see here on the screen, which is your preferred conflict resolution style? So we have competitive, avoiding, accommodating, compromising, collaborative. Which would you say is your preferred conflict resolution or conflict management style? And again, as I mentioned prior, a lot of being on a team and building a team is being able to self-reflect and understand your motivations and your characteristics, and that way you'll see how you fit as a part of the whole. So yes, so we're seeing some people are collaborative, some people are accommodating, some people are avoiding. Okay, yes. So these different styles are most useful in different situations, right? So it's important to know which one you prefer, but also to understand the other styles so that you can use them as needed. So even if you have a preferred style, maybe in a specific context, you might want to use one that that you think will end up being more effective. Okay. So competitive, these are people who tend towards a competitive style, taking a firm stand. They know what they want. This style can be useful in an emergency and when a decision needs to be made fast and right away, right? When a decision is unpopular or when defending against someone who is trying to exploit a situation is important, a competitive style may be very helpful. But you want to make sure that you don't leave people feeling bruised or resentful if it's a less urgent situation. A collaborative style is someone who tends towards trying to meet all the needs of the people involved. These people can be highly assertive, but unlike a competitor, they're still cooperative and acknowledge that everyone is important. This style is useful if you need to bring together a variety of viewpoints or when there have been previous conflicts in a group. A compromising style is someone who prefers to compromise and find a solution that will partially satisfy everyone. So everyone is expected to give up something, even the person who's compromising, right? So compromise is useful when the cost of conflict is higher than the cost of losing ground. And also maybe you have a deadline looming and you just want to get to a resolution. The accommodating style indicates that there's a willingness to just meet the needs of others at your own expense. The accommodator often knows when to just give in and can be persuaded to just surrender their position altogether, right? Accommodation is appropriate when the issues matter more to the other party, or when it's not that big of a deal to you, or it's not that important. However, you have to this approach doesn't always give the best outcome, and so you have to be cautious when using the accommodating approach. Avoiding, these are people who tend to just avoid the conflict altogether. This style is typified by delegating controversial decisions, or maybe you just accept default decisions and you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It can be appropriate when victory is impossible, or when a controversy is not important. You might just avoid the conflict altogether, or when you think someone else is in a better position to solve the problem. However, in many situations, you want to make sure that you're still being effective if you take this approach. So once you understand these different styles, you can use them to think about the most appropriate approach, or maybe a mixture of a few of these approaches for the situation that you're in, right? You can also think about your own approach and learn what you need to change if necessary in a specific context. Keep in mind that if a conflict is very personal in nature on your team, you may want to get human resources involved. So as you think about resolving conflicts, sometimes you may decide actually that you don't want to pursue resolution, right? Or you don't want to confront someone about something that's happening, right? And so think about these questions as you're considering whether you should even resolve the conflict, right? Does the person's performance impede your goals? Ask yourself, can I afford to ignore this? Have other team members asked you to intercede and stand up and say something about the issue? And then also stop and ask yourself if you are contributing to this problem, right? Is it partly your fault, right? Because the fact that conflict exists is not necessarily a bad thing. As long as it's resolved effectively, it can lead to personal and professional growth. By resolving conflict successfully, you can solve many of the problems that are brought to the surface and get the benefits that you might not at first expect, such as increased understanding, increased group cohesion, and self-knowledge of how you work, right? But sometimes it may be better to just avoid the confrontation or the conflict if ultimately it wouldn't be helping to advance the goal, right? So you just have to balance that with not reinforcing bad habits, and also not losing respect for yourself and those who you are on the team with. Because you can't just go around confronting everyone and everything. You have to be able to assess when can you ignore, when can you confront and address. And here's a process that you can use to help you manage the conflict and assess, analyze the conflict and the situation, perform a root cause analysis, develop a strategy, and then acknowledge and take action. And here are some of the characteristics and approaches that you want to adopt when you're resolving those internal conflicts. It's always helpful to remember that, you want to be sincere and authentic so that you can, and that you show up as yourself. Make sure you're identifying the real problem, because sometimes the issue is actually underneath whatever comes to the surface at first. And the conflict will not be resolved if you're not actually addressing the true root cause of the problem. Develop several possible solutions so that you can see which one fits best for your situation, because most situations can go in a variety of directions. evaluate your options and select a solution and strategy. Make the best workable choice that you can, given all the information that you have, and then communicate in a manner that is certain to be received, right? A great idea goes nowhere if you can't properly communicate it to the people that you're engaging with. And so always make sure that your communication is not full of anger. Make sure that it has clarity and that there's commitment behind it as well. And then you acknowledge and preserve the value in the relationship. Ultimately, this is the goal, right? Resolving conflict is about preserving the relationships and being able to move forward together. So keep this in mind as you think through and evaluate your options and how to communicate them with your team members. Okay, so in summary, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success, right? So we know that dysfunctional teams can cripple an entire organization. Teamwork helps you to get work done efficiently and effectively while meeting your goals, and it can increase morale and the revenues and bottom line of your organization, right? And so you have to be mindful of whether your team has a lack of trust, avoidance of conflict or accountability, and any of those other characteristics that can lead to a dysfunctional team. If your team is dysfunctional, you can start addressing the root causes and asking difficult questions to assess why it's happening. Keep in mind that what makes a team dysfunctional can help. Keeping that in mind, you can build the right team that has the characteristics of an effective team, and making sure that you have a mix of the team player types and styles that can help you achieve your goals. As the team is developing, allow it to go through the stages that will lead you to performing at your best. And as conflicts arise, consider the different conflict resolution styles and assess which one is best to use as you manage the conflict resolution process and the goal of preserving the value in a relationship. So that concludes the formal presentation. I think we can start taking some questions now. And as you're putting your, I think Rosario will help us field some of the questions that you may have. So you may put the questions in the chat or in the Q&A. And then as we're getting those questions coming in from you, we wanted to just give you some announcements about the next upcoming sessions. So we have a session on February 9th about overcoming imposter syndrome in the workspace. And then we have a session on February 23rd, the leader within you. So please be sure to sign up for those additional sessions. Also, if you're a part of the talent network, you can use Andela Chat to connect with other Andelans and as well as Andela staff, and to upskill in the community. We also have the Andela Learning Community platform, and on this platform, we have various pages and spaces that you can reference. There is a women space on the Andela Learning Community platform, and there you can see all the previously recorded sessions, and all of the links will be posted in the chat as well. So does anyone have any questions that we can answer?
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much, Wendy. That was really a great session, very informative. We have some questions popping up here. I will read them to you. So first question, for everybody wondering if they can have access to a copy of this presentation or a document of some sort. So this session was recorded, it's been recorded actually, and we will share it through all the channels just mentioned by Wendy. So be on the lookout. You will receive the entire presentation and we will in the women language. So some questions that we have. A team is made of a simple team. What will then
Okay, I think we lost Rosario for a second, but I can go through some of the Q&A and see what some of the questions. A team is made up of subsystem, which are the people that makes the team. What will then happen if one in a team is overstressed or not measuring up? So this is a good question, actually. So there have actually been some studies that have shown that when a team is working smoothly and effectively, it actually helps to reduce stress. And so initially, maybe the idea of being on the team and having to navigate the team and figure out what makes it works best, there might be some initial stress at that point. But ultimately, once the team gets going and it's working effectively, it actually helps to reduce stress of team members. And it actually helps to, and that's also why people say that a great teamwork maintains employee retention and it helps companies keep employees, because that reduction in stress leads to greater commitment from the employees, and it also helps them build a sense of pride in the work that they're doing and in being a part of the company.
Awesome, thank you. How do you deal with members of a still X mindset and your point of view is never expected to perform and give results?
Okay, I think the question was, how do you deal with team members who have a mindset and your point of view is a specific mindset and your point of view is not considered, but you still have to provide the results? So I think, as we mentioned earlier, communication, open and clear communication is a characteristic of an effective team, and you can't really have that communication if there isn't active listening, right? And so team members should be actively listening to everyone who is providing insight and input, and everyone should be able to provide information and feedback, as well as you should be able to question and challenge, right? Like we talked about that challenger type earlier. So pretty much, that being able to share your opinions is key to the team. And so it's just a matter of navigating how exactly you want to go about encouraging the team to be more active listeners, but then also showing how your contributions are effectively trying to push the team to more innovation and better results.
Amazing. There's another one here. I am wondering, what is civilized disagreement?
Yes. So civilized disagreement is being able to openly disagree and challenge and even question the goals, the methods, and all of that, asking the why and the how, and all other relevant questions to the team. But it's all in the name of progress, right? And it's all in the name of um, figuring out the problems that the team is facing, but also bringing value so that you can overcome those issues together. So civilized disagreement is not personal, right? It's still tied to the goals that the team is trying to accomplish, right? You're not attacking a person, you're just trying to make sure that the team's methods and goals can actually, that the methods and the work can actually lead to the goals.
Great, amazing. Is there any other alternative that can be used when the conflict in a team is not being resolved?
Yes. So you can always use an external partner. So whether that's human resources or maybe there's another external partner, a different department that you work with closely, that's also another option, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes a team doesn't necessarily have all the mix of the team player types. And so you may not be equipped to solve the conflict on your own, but you should, and in those instances, you should definitely reach out to human resources or another external partner that could serve as a bridge or help facilitate.
Thank you. That is very useful to know. And here's another one that is kind of related. What are the important things to keep in mind when selecting team members?
Yeah, so when you're selecting team members, you want to try to be able to assess where that person would fit, right? So thinking about the team player types and the styles, but then also putting that in the context of the overall goals that you're trying to achieve, right? Because ultimately, you always want the purpose and the roles to be clear. Because when people don't understand what they're working on or why, then that's going to lead to a lack of commitment, which is going to lead to lack of accountability, which is then going to create tension. So as you're assessing the team player type, also think about what types do you need for the roles and for the purpose of that team.
Okay. One more question. How does a new team member go about fitting in an already fully performing team?
Oh, so if there's a team that's already functioning and you're new to the team, you're just joining in, you definitely want to take the time to get to know everyone. So that means you may have already missed the forming stage, which is the first stage that we talked about when a team is coming together. And so so even though you missed that stage, you might still want to go through the process of getting to know people and establishing the relationships, given that you are new. And you want to make sure that there's a clear, your role and your purpose is clear on the team, right? So the team is already rocking and rolling. Everybody already knows what they're doing. And so now here you come joining. And you want to make sure that where you fit in is very clear. And then you also still want to take the time to establish the relationships and build that trust, because then as you work together, you could maybe kind of identify whether there are any differences in styles that you need to adapt, but then also you'll be able to actually build that community and that you would need to be able to work closely with your team.
We are kind of time, so I will end the Q&A section. It was a great pleasure to have you all. And please remember, we have 2 more sessions coming up. You can find the dates and the registration links in the Women Live Women page. So have a great day and hope to see you all in our next session. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.